Why don't I turn this music off for starters? Okay. All right. So everybody, there's a lot of new faces here tonight. So just want to welcome you all to another edition of Inside the Room at the Ultimate Leafs Fan. In case you don't know, I'm the Ultimate Leafs Fan, or labeled as the Ultimate Leafs Fan. We've got a lot of new faces here tonight. Some special guests: Dennis Murrock, former 60-goal scorer of the Washington Capitals. Should have been a Toronto Maple Leaf, but that's the way it goes.
I was too good.
And we have somebody, we got probably the most special guest, I would say, is Kayla, Canadian hockey player who played in the Turkish Hockey League. Now, if you want to ask some questions about some things that went on, there's a story on itself. And Kayla, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
And of course, our two distinguished guests. You know, it's one of these things that it's very easy to introduce a couple of elite, world-class athletes like Jayna and Vicky. But on the other hand, it's hard because we only have so much time. Jayna is an example: 18 medals, 5 medals at the Olympics. We only count the golds, as we suggest. So that's 4 golds and a silver, but all at 5 different Olympics. Think about that feat itself. Vicky, and 18 medals in total, completing international. Vicky, she has 3, including 2 golds, and she has 11 medals in total, I believe, internationally.
17.
You do. Oh, you got 17?
But probably, yeah. But
oh, okay. So 7. So
you know what? I'm not. But if you count just gold, maybe 11.
We only count gold.
Sorry.
So anyway, so as you can see, very distinguished. Now, I just happened to be there in 2002. I guess I should thank you guys, because Deb and I, we arrived in Salt Lake City the night of your gold medal game. We watched the third period when we leave the room because you guys were going well. And then we went to a bar. I'm sure you guys know the Puck, which was inside the Center, James Shaker and of course. And I know they're getting paid for a drink there the whole night, but it's kind of good, so thank you guys. So, I mean, aside from that, the girls, they do some wonderful things and on the ice to represent us on a worldwide basis. But from my personal standpoint, the story I want to tell you is the one involving Jayna. There's a chap here by the name of Conrad Lindemann, where he's at the back. Him and his wife, Jane Ruse, they run a foundation called Can Fund that raises monies for our Canadian Olympic athletes. They've raised over $20 million in the last 10 years. That's and we've been involved, Deb and I involved, we've hosted 4 events for them. And one of the things they've allowed us to do is, one of the treasures that I have out of it is to call the athlete when they become a Can Fund recipient. And the athlete doesn't know the call is coming. They could be anywhere in the world traveling, training, playing, whatever. Jayna happened to be one of our recipients. And we called her, and she was on her way to practice in Calgary the night we got her. And this was in 2014 in Sochi. So we gave Jayna the money, and I say something at the end after Conrad goes through a number of questions for the kids. And then again, I usually say something about good cheer, but the one thing I throw in always is the caveat for them is they have to do something to get the money. And the one thing they have to do is they have to, when they all agree to do it, by the way, they have to come to Toronto win a gold medal and they get their picture taken with me. So they all say yes. So to show you the type of person we have, last year an event we had, Jayna was one of the celebrities, and I was standing around and she gave me a tap on the shoulder, walked me over to the case, and she said, "Mike," pulled 2 gold medals out and said, "I believe I owe you a picture." Who does that? That's what these guys represent us on. And that's the beauty of it. And you know what? That's why we love you guys.
All right. All right.
So now, what I'd like to do is we'd like to have the girls tell us a little about how they got to where they are here today. And Vicky's herself, I said, she was voted by the Hockey Hall of Fame, I believe, as one of the most recognizable, or one of the most forceful women in hockey of her time, which is a phenomenal feat. She was the torchbearer coming to Toronto for the 2012 Olympics. 10 Olympics. The last one to touch coming into Toronto. And so I lit the flag and there, the torch in front of thousands.
Yes.
Quite an honor.
It was.
So we have 2 very elite athletes with us. So girls, we'll start off with Jayna on the far side of me here. Why don't you give us a little bit of an insight of how you started playing the game and how you got to where you were winning all these medals?
Sure. I grew up in Kingston, Ontario, which obviously is known as a hockey town. So I have an older brother who's a few years older than me, and my parents are pretty involved in hockey. My dad played into his 60s. My mom was involved coaching and managing our teams. And so growing up as a young girl, I always just loved hockey. It didn't matter if I was, playing road hockey or in a hockey tournament or hotel hockey, mini sticks. It was just a passion that I've had for as long as I can remember. And, I remember following my brother around the rink and my parents thinking it was funny that I actually just sat in the stands and watched him play at, 4 years old. But I loved it. And I think, I took that passion from my parents and started playing hockey when I was about 6 years old. And started in boys hockey before switching over to girls when I was about 10. And at that time, there weren't many girls playing hockey in Kingston. Vicky was playing hockey by then up here, but in Kingston it was still pretty unknown to see a girl playing hockey. And I think one of the things I feel most fortunate about is that my parents really encouraged me to do it. And they could tell I loved it, they could tell I had a passion for it, and never once thought I should do something else because other people said that it was a boys' sport. And they encouraged me and wanted me to follow my passion, and that's something that I take with me now, is that for my own kids, I hope they find a passion and really follow it, whatever it happens to be. And so I played all my minor hockey in Kingston. When I was 18, I was deciding where I was going to go to school, and I ended up here at the University of Toronto for a few reasons. It was I knew I wanted to get a good education as well as play in a good hockey program, and at the time U of T was one of the strongest hockey programs in Canada. And not only did I play for U of T, but I also played in the Women's Professional League, which is now the CWHL. At the time, it was a different league, but so I had an opportunity at 18 years old to play against Vicky and Angela James and Geraldine Heaney and all these national team players. And so I was able to compete against the best in the world at 18 years old and go on to make my first World Championship team at 19. My first World Championships were in Kitchener in 1997, and timing for me was really good because the first Olympics were in 1998, so I had an opportunity at 20 years old to play in my first Olympics and continue on with the national team for 17 years, and was able to play in 12 World Championships and 5 Olympic Games, and just recently retired, but I had an amazing experience over those years in the game.
Fantastic. Vic?
So for me, it was a similar, I guess, story in the beginning. My dad loved hockey. My mom hated it. She used to tell us that, she always went to bed angry on Saturday nights, and my dad would be watching the hockey games. And my dad, I have 2 older siblings, 1 brother and 1 sister. And my dad tried to get my sister involved with hockey, and all she wanted to do was sing. She just liked to sing. And so my brother came along, and my brother just didn't really take to it. He went on the ice. He played 1 season, and he just chipped at the ice because he wanted to try to get to the fish that were below, and he thought that there was fish under the ice, and that was it for him. So 5 years later, I came along, and I think probably at that time my dad probably regretted introducing it to me, because when I think it was 1 1/2, I have some audio tapes, the cassette tapes of me and him playing hockey in the basement, and I think my first words are shoot, score, and I wanted to be a goalie, so I played in net. And so he introduced me to hockey, and he got me skating when I was 2. Came home, and I remember him saying to my mom saying that my dad brought me home and said that, we've got a hockey player here, she can skate. And my mom loved figure skating, so if she could skate, let's get her into figure skating. My dad wouldn't have anything to do with it, neither would I. So I think from 2 1/2 to when I started skating, and then playing up, my dad made a rink in the backyard and at our public school, and he got me involved. He played in the men's league, the Old Timers League in Scarborough. And he got me involved with Scarborough East Hockey Boys League. So at 5, I was playing in that league and played with the boys till I was about 7. Then I got kicked out. They said there was a girls' league and that I couldn't play with the boys anymore. But when I was 7, my father was my coach, and he ended up passing away of a massive heart attack playing tennis. So it was tough. My mom, again, she didn't love hockey, but she really took over and kept me going, and she knew that I loved it, so she'd be getting up and taking me, and I never remember missing a beat. I kept playing, and it was just between her and my sister taking me to practices, my mom ended up becoming the hugest hockey fan after. So I played in Scarborough growing up, and I was one of the first, and I don't know how many females there were, but I was one of the first to get a full scholarship to the U.S. There was probably, and I don't know the numbers, but probably less than 10, and now there's a couple hundred going every year, I'd say, you know, going on and getting scholarships in the U.S., scholarships in Canada. So I went to Northeastern University when I graduated from high school. I went there for 2 years, and back in those days, the hockey wasn't as great as it was now. So the best hockey was back home in Canada. So I was homesick, a whole bunch of different things, and after I came and tried out for the 1990, the first ever women's world championships, and made that team, I didn't end up going back. I played in the world championships, and I didn't end up going back to Boston. I transferred and went to the University of Toronto. I played there and went to school. So I continued playing in Toronto, played for various teams. I didn't make the national team in 1992, had a bit of a break. I thought my life was over. I think at the time hockey was, ever since my dad introduced it, it was my life, and I didn't make the team. I rejoined the team in 1996, and then again for my next World Championships was in 1997 when Jayna joined the team. And just a side note, when Jayna came out to camp, we were like, who is this young kid? Like, she was very quiet. Who is this young kid? We're on the ice, and just, Jayna's pretty small, and gets goal after goal after goal after goal. We're like, wow, I think she might make the team. I think she might make the team. And I'm just rejoining the team, but all the people that had been playing, and I think the talk was that she was going to be taking somebody's spot, and she sure did. Took the team, and she was there to stay. But and then luckily after the 1998 Olympics, I don't know how it happened, but we got Jayna to come to Brampton and play on the Brampton Thunder in the NWHL and CWHL, and just I'm so lucky to have such a great career. I played up until 2008 when they had to really kick me out because I didn't want to go. And I know some people, Jayna decided to retire, but they really had to kick me out. So I just had a great career. Played in 8 World Championships, 3 Olympics. Met so many great people that are my best friends now, Double K, and just a great career, and a lot of support. People like you. I was with Can Fund, and Conrad's here. Just a lot of support to help along the way, because as much as we say professional hockey, we didn't make a whole lot of money, and of course the money for medals came in right after I retired in Vancouver. And they didn't do any retroactive payments back then, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. And when I retired, I ended up scrambling because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm 38 years old, and I really wanted to start a family. So luckily, I have twin boys. They're 6 years old now. So in 2009, I had my twin boys, and now I coach at the University of Toronto. But hockey is, I don't know, it's my life, and it'll always be my life, I'm sure. But so many great experiences and so many great people and great support along the way.
Well, so on that lead-in for you girls, that was a great story. On that lead-in for you guys, I'm going to throw this question at you. The challenges growing up, as a woman playing a man's game, or supposed man's game. When did you guys, there must have been a moment where you had that sort of defining moment where you felt, finally they recognize us as real players in this game. When was it for you, since Vicky? Like, I'll give you an example. Like, nobody really took it, I think, as serious as they should have. And I think Don Cherry, when he stepped up on Coach's Corner when you guys won with the white skates, and it was quite a feat. And all of a sudden, it started taking a whole different sphere and aura for everybody. And I don't know. What do you think? Yeah,
I think in 1990 we had a lot of fans, and it was a really electric crowd that came out and noticed being part of the World Championships. I think a lot of people kind of took it a little bit for granted because we were wearing pink and white and pink uniforms and things like that. But I think it opened doors for a lot, and maybe even kids like Jayna watching. I think you were probably like 12 at the time, giving girls, you know, that, you know, hope like there's a world championships, but maybe not until 1997, 1998, till it became an Olympic sport, and, you know, then you had, I don't know, I think a little bit more respect and people watching and thinking that, hey, it's a pretty good game.
So on that same vein, as we go along here, the accusations against the sport, which I couldn't care less because as long as we win, it's a two-team race. So why is it that, like, the Russians and the Finns and the Swedes, why are they so far behind? I mean, is it lack of girls playing, coaching? Are you guys just that good? Jayna?
I think it's a combination of all those things. You know, I think there's many countries that don't have the freedom that, as women in North America, we have. So, you know, we have that behind us, that we're encouraged. You know, we love strong female athletes, and I don't know if we could say that about all of those countries. I think that the access to facilities, to good coaching, to funding. A great example is Team Russia, and they didn't do much with their program for a long time. And a few years back, I think it was probably prior to Sochi, they hired Alexei Yashin. And a lot of times, you know, you get a figurehead and a name, but Alexei Yashin actually skated with the Russian team at tournaments in practice, pre-game skates. He had full gear on, he would skate with them. And he was their GM. And once they started putting some funding into their program, and he brought some credibility to them, I think, as an NHL player, then all of a sudden they won a bronze medal in the World Championships. And a lot of the teams that are 3 through 8, they switch up all the time. There's some great, you know, Finland, Sweden have a great rivalries. The Swiss are right in there. The Russians are there. The problem is that we keep getting better, and the Americans keep getting better, and we have so many players. And until we're willing to be stagnant and get complacent and let countries catch up, it's going to take some time. But at the same time, our sport's very young. You know, the first Olympic Games were only in 1998, so when you look back at the men's game, you know, their first few Olympic years, you'd see huge disparities. You saw 13, 15, 18 nothing games, and we're still growing, and we're just really in our infancy as the women's game, I think.
I agree, and you know, I look back to the 2002 Olympics, and the team from Finland was unbelievable. I think that if had those players, and you know, if they had the funding, and were able to play and still, you know, and not have to work, and you know, as much as they have to do and start their careers, but like I think that if those players kept playing, I'm not so sure they wouldn't have knocked off us or the U.S. Sweden tied us in the 1998 Olympics in the preseason, in the exhibition game leading up into the Olympics. So, you know, there's been some really close situations. In 1997 World Championships, we ended up winning with a second, you know, a couple seconds left in the game to go on to the gold medal game. That was against Finland. So, I don't know. It's I think it has a lot to do with the funding and, you know, keeping their players playing. I think that they do have very, very skilled players, and they could, but I think that our carding, our funding, and our supporting, support helps us to be able to maintain and to be able to play.
So what are we going to have to do to maintain that level of excellence that we have? Like, do you see it, is it improving, do you think, from that standpoint, or are we, like you talk about going stagnant, what shouldn't happen to have that happen to us? Because it happened to us on the men's side.
Yeah, I mean, just before I get to that, I want to kind of add on what Vicky said about keeping our players in the game. And one of our strengths in Canada is that we have this veteran group of players. So Vicky retired at 38. Danielle Goyette played till 40. Cassie played until 35-ish, maybe. I played until 37. And because we have the support, we have some government support, but we have support like CanFund. We have support from, I've been with RBC for 8 years. So because we have that, we can keep our players in the game longer, and that's been one of our greatest strengths. So I think that's really important. In terms of not getting stagnant, I don't think you're going to see that happen. And when we talk about the close games, it's funny because if we ever lose or tie someone other than the Americans, boy, do we get ripped. Oh my gosh. We don't hear the end of it. The newspapers, the media. But if we win by more than 4 goals, we get ripped again.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't, you know, we want to win, but I guess we just want it to be really close all the time. And, you know, I think when it comes to Hockey Canada, as we already mentioned, it's gold or bust. And so, you know, I don't think we're ever going to sit back. And the way the American program is growing right now, they're not willing to sit back either. So I think what it's going to take is just time for the other countries. And for us, we just have so many girls playing the game, and we're getting better, and we're training harder, and it's just it's going to take time.
Love to hear it. Well, now I'd like to open the floor up to ask anybody else wants to ask any questions. Dan?
What impact did Manon Rayon have? Now that was like the early 90s. So would that have been a time of great influence?
Well, for me, I was younger, so like Vicky said, the 1990 World Championships, I vividly remember watching them on television. I was 12, 13 years old, and first time I ever was aware of the fact that there was a women's team. You know, growing up, and I thought I would play in the NHL. You know, Wayne Gretzky was my hero, and you know, that's just the way it was. And then all of a sudden, there was this, and second on the list. That's true. So it was a real eye-opener to be able to watch a women's game on TV and see a sold-out arena. You know, so that was pretty amazing, I think.
Have you ever met her, talked to her, or?
Oh, we both played with her. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I think that it did. I think it was
marketing,
a publicity thing, a marketing thing.
You're saying she wasn't that good, or?
No, I think that she was good, but you know, even in the goaltending position, I don't know if, you know, if women could play in the NHL, like, you know, right now. And I think that we're just as smart, if not smarter. But the physical, like when we play against 17, 18-year-old guys, 16, 15, like they're so strong, and like just the physical aspect of the game, and you know, it's competitive. And you know, and when we play, we're centralized for the Olympics. We play in the midget, is it AA or AAA? The midget AAA league out there, and the games are very competitive. But it's just when you keep going, like it's the physicality of the game, and they have to play no body checking, like they would play contact. But even still, you hit those guys, and it's like, wow.
You know, I think it started the conversation. And it brought some awareness to the women's game. So, you know, I think there's positive things to it, for sure.
But just more of a given. I mean, the fact that she played one game or one period for an NHL team. Like,
well, you know what?
wow.
There's a number of goalies that played a lot longer in the Canadian women's program than Manon did, that didn't play in the NHL. So, I mean, it's not to say she was the best, but she was a good goaltender.
She was a great goaltender, yeah.
You know, she had some good years with us, but we've also had some other, you know, incredible goaltenders.
And Shannon Sabados is
currently playing in men's.
She's doing very well.
Jenny, you got a question?
Hey, hi. I wanted to know, when you both mentioned you played with boys teams when you were kids, and then you eventually you were forced or moved into the girls team. I wondered how you felt about that, because that was the big debate in the 80s and 90s about whether girls and boys should play together. So I wonder if you could just talk us through your experiences.
You have probably a better story.
Well, I did get kicked out, and I think that at the time, I think all my friends were boys, you know, growing up. So I was a little, you know, why are they doing this? But my mom registered me in the Scarborough Girls League, and I just wanted to play. So it wasn't that, I don't know, it wasn't that big of a deal for me. And I remember at that same, like, not long after, Justine Blaney went to the court and got that kind of rule overturned. But it didn't affect me. I was like, why are they doing this? Like, you know, because I was doing all right. I was, you know, in scoring and everything in the boys' leagues. But I think it was probably parents at that time get her out, and because they were, I don't know, maybe upset me making a select team or being, you know, one of the top scorers. But I didn't care. I just wanted to play.
Pretty similar. I didn't get forced out. I switched over to girls hockey, and we were actually playing against boys. Growing up in Kingston, there was one girls team. So it's like, you go and play on the girls team to then play against the boys. So it really didn't make a big difference. It was, but when I played on the boys team, you know, they were all my best friends, and I switched over to the girls team, and then they became my best friends. And but I just wanted to play as well, and I had an opportunity to to play pretty competitive hockey because we were playing against boys all the time.
Rick, I have a question for each of you. I'll go first. One of my favorite non-work memories was a Friday afternoon just 2 years ago. Half the company gathered around the TV watching the gold medal game, and the electricity when you guys scored to win, and even to tie it up, was unbelievable. And like I say, it's one of my favorite memories from work that's not work related. Can you?
It's got to be better than work related.
Yeah.
I would say, right?
Can you?
What do you do?
Share your memories. Okay. Share your memories from that game.
It was definitely the craziest game I've ever played in. We had a really tough season for a number of reasons, from the intensity of our training, which every time just kind of goes up and up. So it's pretty grueling physically, a lot of injuries, the mental challenges of playing through that exhaustion, because not only are you playing through the exhaustion, but you're trying to make a team. So we go as 30 girls to try out for an Olympic team, and there's no guarantee that you're on the team. You spend 5 months trying to make the team. So there's all those sort of challenges around making the team. And then, our coach resigns 8 weeks before the Olympics. And if you can imagine training for 4 years, your goal is to make the Olympic team. And 1 week before they give us the day that they're going to, next week they're naming the team. So this is where you're going to find out if you're an Olympian or not. And 1 week before that, the coach is gone. So the person that's been watching you for the last 2 years and evaluating you play. And so 2 or 3 days later, they name a new head coach, who, Kevin Dineen, was, the greatest person I think they could have found for that job. And he did an amazing job, but a guy's coming in that has never seen any of us play, doesn't have much experience from the women's game, and within 1 week, to his credit, he named the Olympic team. So imagine the mental challenges going on within the athlete's head, right? It's like 4 years, and all of a sudden 1 week before, you're like, what's going on, right? So there's that to get there. However, from there we sort of started to build. Going into the Olympics, we had a lot of confidence. We finally had an opportunity to get a little bit rested, spend some time in Austria before, relax a bit, have some team time, have some fun, and we went into the games in a really good place. Went through the tournament. Our first win against the Americans in the round robin was huge, because we had played them 8 times prior to that, and we won the first 4 and they won the last 4, I think. So we weren't in a good slide going into the games, but when we won that round robin game, that was sort of that, it was like a check mark, like we're there, we're back where we want to be. And then of course the gold medal game, where we ended up getting in a pretty good hole, 2 goals down. I personally felt like we were playing okay. We weren't playing poorly, but we weren't generating a whole lot of chances and that we wanted. But in that third period, I think they scored their second goal. There's about 12-13 minutes left to make it 2-0. And there was a brief time for me where I sort of in my head thought things weren't going to go that well. But it was pretty quick. It was in and out. And from that point on, our team somehow found a way to just be in a positive space and supportive, and everybody just was going to do their job. And it wasn't like in a team sport often what happens is one person panics a little and they start either doing too much or they make mistakes, whatever it is, and then that turns into 2 people doing that, and 3 and 4, and then it snowballs. And we didn't have that. We just had the entire bench was there. When your name got called, you went out, you did your job, and really kind of focused on what your job was. And there was a sense of calm on our bench. And looking back, I don't know how we did it, but I think it was the key to our success that we did it that way. And we just continued to do our job, and we got the goal with just under 4 minutes to go. And it was a pretty lucky goal. It was off the American defenseman in the end, but as we all know in hockey, sometimes you need a bounce. And once we got that, then momentum was just on our side, and we just could sort of build on that. And we tied it up with 50-some seconds left. And at that point, I remember thinking that we had so much momentum, so much energy, that we could have won it in regulation. Like, we had another 50 seconds. We could score another goal, no big deal. We went into overtime, of course, first time that an Olympic gold medal was going to be decided in overtime. So that was pretty cool. But in between the third and the overtime, people often ask what we talked about, and it was really pretty simple. It was that we talked about our preparation and what we had done throughout that year, that tough season. We had played over 50 games leading into the Olympics. And as Vicky mentioned, we played Midget AAA Boys League in Alberta. So we played over 30 games against these boys all over small town Alberta. We'd be bussing around, staying in these roadside motels and busing 4 or 5 hours after games home. And every single one of those games, we played 5 minutes of 4-on-4 overtime, and we played a shootout. Whether we won or lost the game, it didn't matter. So sometimes it's, 11:30 at night and the game ends, and they're like, okay, overtime now. I'm like, seriously? We have another 5-hour drive home. But the only reason we did that was because there was that slight chance that we could get into that situation for an Olympic gold medal. And so 30 times we played overtime and we played shootout. So in between the third and the overtime, that's what we talked about. You know what? We know what we have to do. We've done it thousands of times. Hockey players will know there's a strategic difference between playing 4-on-4 and 5-on-5. There's a lot of differences the way you play the game, and we didn't have to talk about it because we knew. And so that preparation, I think, gave us confidence, allowed us to just go out with a sense of calm and play the game. And the overtime, they certainly had some chances. They had some good chances early, and it was pretty back and forth. But when we actually got the goal to win it, I think for me, it was a sense of just that we had really earned it. We didn't get lucky. We didn't just have a good day or they had a bad day, or, it was like we earned it. It was so hard throughout that year, and we just kept digging and digging. And it was really rewarding victory. But I've never played in a game with that kind of a momentum swing. So it was, still kind of gives me goosebumps thinking about the game and the way it all unfolded.
Rick, you had a second question for
Fantastic answer.
Outstanding.
That was a great answer.
Yeah. She has no idea what it's like to watch yet.
It wasn't work related.
To watch and see that.
Rick, you had a second question for Vicky?
So Vicky, I would say I first really got introduced to watching women's hockey in 1991. U of T, my friend Heather was on the team, and I would go.
Ginzel.
Zachary.
Oh, Zachary, okay.
Yeah.
I played with her.
And so I would watch her games, and then I remember you coming to the team, and I had heard about you for years. Reading the Scarborough Mirror, they would always talk about the great Vicky Sunohara. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get to see one of the greatest players in women's hockey play, and it was fantastic. But can you share any memories from your days at U of T?
Oh boy, I remember, because I played at Northeastern, and I remember the year I went and left Northeastern and I played for U of T, and then we went down to play Northeastern, and I felt really bad compared to leaving and playing. But we ended up beating them, so it was okay. I felt okay about it after. But it's funny, now that I coach at the University of Toronto, and I look back on playing there and kind of sacrifices that we made, and the girls are you serious, we don't have any sticks, and I said, sticks? We didn't get any sticks back when I played. We didn't even have a dressing room. We had to keep all our stuff in this little locker. And so I try to tell them where they came from, and to appreciate what they have. But I just again, it was playing, and it's funny that no matter who, representing the University of Toronto, just such a feeling of pride playing and wearing that jersey. As I think the highlight obviously is representing your country, but I think that I felt very proud to represent the University of Toronto as well. And I played with some great players. I played with Laurie Dupuis back in the day, like Laura Schuler.
Yeah.
Natalie Rivard, a lot of the girls on the national team back, or who were trying out for the national team. Justine Blaney played, Steph Boyd, and played back then, and I was just fortunate. I always played with great players, and again, I think the memories are all those people that we keep in touch with and talk about the times that we shared. So great memories for sure.
Carl?
Yeah. Back in 2005, I worked on a TV series called Hockey People's History, and every episode had spotted for women's hockey. And we went through Justine Blaney and Hilda Ranscombe and Albert Ponce and Cameron and all the great ones. And I really got an appreciation of the challenges that women had to play. And it's a colorful history too. A lot of characters and skill. And Hilda Ranscombe was the Wayne Gretzky of the 1930s, whatever. And we had to research it, so we found out a lot more. sometimes they would make fun of them. I remember once on Hockey Night Canada, in intermission, they had the Hockey Night Canada crew going to, it was a tournament, and they had, Brian McFarlane playing, Bill Hewitt, Jack Dennett, they were all playing. But they were sort of making fun of the girls back then, you see. But that changed. I think Justine Blaney might have something to do with that, too. Now, we had, for the book, we had to get a picture of the girls on the ice with a loonie, the lucky loonie. I think maybe you supplied it. I'm not really sure. I think
could have.
Yeah, I think
we had a great photo of that.
We got it from you. And then I wanted to use a picture in another book with Haley Wickenheiser when she had that rant against the Americans.
Yeah.
But I was told, no, I don't think so, because that really didn't happen, and we owe the Americans an apology for that. So, can you talk about that?
Jayna, go ahead.
So that was in 2002, and when I started, the Canada-U.S. rivalry was as heated and as intense as it is today. And as much as it is, there is a lot of respect there, and I know, we always say that, but it's very true, because we know we need each other to grow the game, right? And when you have an opportunity to meet some of them, or some of the girls go to school together and different things, you realize you have similar goals, similar interests, and we're all trying to push the game to a new level. So there's a level of respect there. But from '98 to 2002, it was pretty heated for a number of reasons. We were expected to win in Nagano, and they won, and then, I think there was a few World Championships where maybe they probably should have won, and we pulled it out, and then we go to Salt Lake City in 2002, and the season itself, there was a lot of stuff going on throughout the season. So then, somebody came in and told us about this flag incident, and of course, when you hear that, everybody's sort of like, I can't believe they do that, whatnot. After the fact, then some of us, I think, have heard that it wasn't true. And so whether it was given to us as motivation, I think was maybe the case. I didn't know a lot of the American players. I got to know Cami Granato a little bit, who was the captain at the time, and I had the utmost respect for her. So I don't see her doing something like that, but some of the things that went on throughout the season would make you think that it could happen. So, ultimately, from anyone I've spoke to has said it didn't happen, so all you can do is believe it. But at the time it was certainly motivation, because we're proud Canadians, and, going out and you hear something like that and you use it as motivation. And it's unfortunate that it became a thing, because it's, I think it was, it's just such a great rivalry, and for us it was an amazing underdog victory in Salt Lake, and it's unfortunate that became the story and not the performance.
That's good. Now, Peter Mohavec scored a goal in '72 in Game 2 in Toronto to turn things around, and your goal at the end of the period there turned things around in that game too. Now, you're probably modest, you probably would say, well, but that was one of the most outstanding emotional goals I've ever seen. Wow, that was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, in the game, obviously we were up 2-1 at the time, and it was funny. I remember it pretty well, because there was Haley and a few others were on the ice, and for some reason they changed with, 15 seconds left, which never happens. Right? I feel like they're not coming off; they're staying on, and they came off. So Vicky and I went on. We were playing on a line together, but it was 4-on-4. Yeah. So we went on the ice. And Becky Keller and Therese Brisson, and we had a face-off in our zone, and I tend to like to stretch a little bit and just go for a skate.
Speed, she's got.
And I had full confidence that Vicky was going to win the draw. Yeah. So with 4-on-4, there was so much ice. So as soon as she won the draw, I just sort of took off, and Vicky, of course, won it, and it went D to D, and our D just sort of lobbed it up, and I don't know if it bounced or not.
No, it was in the air. You caught it, put it to your stick, or got it down right to her stick perfectly. Yeah, went on a breakaway.
And when we scored, obviously it was hugely exciting and whatnot. But I also remember that there's 1 second left in the second period. But I also remember kind of being like, okay, we need to calm down. There's a whole nother period to play. It's only 3-1. It's not like the game was over. But as you see, the other night there was a goal with a few seconds left. But those goals that happen with a few seconds left in a period are just like backbreakers. So I think it was an important goal at the time, and turned out to be the winning goal because the Americans ended up getting one in the third period. So looking back on it, it's pretty cool, and it's pretty cool that Vicky and I were both on the ice, and we had this celebration that we like to say is on the quarter. The quarter that has the two people celebrating. They never told us it was us, but we say it was. It's
gotta be us after that goal.
So next time you find that quarter and take a look at it.
You've taken that the two of you didn't get any penalties, right?
Yes, I did.
I don't think
You didn't know.
Yes.
And I also happened to bring this. This is for you, Mike. This is that goal as we speak about it.
That is that goal.
We gotta sign it to get it.
I will.
Bring it.
I want to bring that for you.
Dennis?
Congratulations on both your careers. And Jayna, I know I've worked with you a little bit, but I think a lot of people may not know that the highest registrations on youth hockey is girls. All right. Now, Vicky's working with U of T. Jayna, I don't know, you just retired. Are you working with the younger girls?
Assistant coach.
She's assistant coach with me at U of T. So.
Okay, but are you working with the girls at a younger level because they want to get to a youth work? Because there's not much for them as they go up, because there's not a junior league or pro league, whatever. It's coming.
Yep.
Probably got a few teams now.
Sure.
See, the question is because they're going to need your support.
Yeah.
Not just have a male coach, but they're going to need the female and like Lori and all these girls.
I can jump in just because just last week I was invited, and it was amazing. But I was a skills coach at the Hockey Canada, the U18 camp. So it's a development camp, a strength and conditioning camp, but they had an on-ice skills portion. And it was amazing. There was I can't believe that they're 99 and 2000s now trying out for Team Canada, the under 18 team, and just the skill is pretty amazing. And so they invited myself, Danielle Goyette, Carolyn Willette was there, Gina Kingsbury, and Fiona Smith, and we're all ex-players. So it's something that we never really had when we were growing up and playing, and as ex-players coming back and coaching, but now it's amazing that we're all getting back and into the game and coaching now. So
because there's so many girls playing.
So many girls, and good thing I played when I played, because I wouldn't make it. Now those girls are good, and boy, they can shoot. Yeah, it's good.
We also we both run summer camps for young kids. So. I'm going into my 19th summer running this camp back home in Kingston, where I'm from. I do some up in Aurora. Vicky does some camps in Whitby, and so a lot of the girls are doing a lot of that grassroots stuff. And I did some development with minor hockey in Leaside this year, in addition to coaching with Vicky at U of T. So, there's a huge need for it.
Are the other girls getting involved too? Not just.
I think a lot are. Yeah, I think a lot are.
They got their own lives too. And the girls look up to y'all. They need your support. They need you being around them as much as you can.
Absolutely,
I think it's very important.
Yeah, I think it's a responsibility to help grow the game.
That's great.
Any other couple more?
Yeah. What do you think are the next steps in forming a stable professional league? You both played in the old NWHL, which transitioned into CWHL, but they didn't pay its players, and now you've got the new NWHL south of the border, which pays its players, but both leagues have their issues. So without politicizing which model is right, which model is wrong, just the game's growing so much, it can still grow further in terms of getting one stable professional league, similar to what the NHL and WHA did when they had their merger. Now you've got just one, and now going forward, if you see maybe 8 or 9 teams across the United States, Canada, where every player is played, it's like they're almost there, but there's still a few gaps left. So how do you bridge those gaps, and how would you bridge those gaps, in your opinion?
I think the first thing is there needs to be one league. I think there needs to be one league of 4 to 6 teams, and you've got to get the best players in the world. So you've got to find a way to bring the best Finnish players, the best Swedish players, the best Russian players. That's how the game's going to grow, I think. The challenges are being able to bring them here and pay them, or getting them work visas, or whatever the case is, because it's just, it's not really feasible otherwise. But I think that's the biggest thing, is getting all the best players, and then hopefully those players can bring back to their countries, what they learn, and takeaways and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. There's got to be one league, and I don't know how close they are, and they were originally talking, and then they went their separate ways, and hopefully, you know, they'll get back together because it's got to be one league for sure. So.
I apologize for showing my ignorance, but the question has to do with officiating. I remember a game, I think it was in 2000.
Answer this.
2000, I know it was a final in the Olympics or the World Championship. There was an American referee refereeing Canadians and Americans, and she called 6 or 7 penalties in a row against the Canadians. Was it 8? 7 or 8?
8 in a row.
Were you on the ice of that? Do you recall that game?
Yeah, that was
So the question is, how did you feel? And second, how did the Canadian organization allow an American coach to referee a Canadian-American game? And you won that game, by the way.
Yeah. So that was our 2002 gold medal game, and I don't, you know, it's hard because, and we may see things a little bit differently, but that game, it was just okay. I think we were so focused, and it was just kill this penalty and move on. And you know, it was funny because it's a game that you talk about. You know, it doesn't do any good to yell at the refs because, you know, there's not been a ref that I've ever had that's changed the call around and said, okay, yeah, you're right, come on back out. So, you know, you talk about that, you talk about not retaliating, and our team was so focused and, okay, kill this one, you guys, let's kill this. And we had players that, you know, great players that played on the power play that sat on the bench for 10 minutes. But at that time, our coaches didn't complain. We got penalties. We went to the box, and it was like, okay, the penalty killed. We're going to kill it. We'll get the next one. Then it was, we'll get the next one. And I think we were all on the same page. Nobody complained. Everybody just did their job. And, you know, from the staff down, there wasn't any, you know, and it didn't give the players on the bench a reason to panic. Our coaching staff at that time, they weren't panicking. Nobody was complaining. So it was just, I think that we probably thought that we'd get the next call or the next call or the next call, but it was just go do your job, get on the ice, kill the penalty, we'll get the next one. And I don't think it wasn't until we watched the game, because we had the team over to our house after the Olympics. When we went back to Calgary, we watched the game together, and we're like, wow, that was a terrible call. At the time,
You didn't think so? Livingston was the referee. Livingston,
yeah.
The
But
American broadcast at the time, even they were saying they're not giving the Canadians a chance. And this is the U.S. broadcast saying
Yeah.
that. It was obvious to us all at home.
Yeah.
And we didn't feel that?
no, we heard that, and people were throwing things at the TV. We heard after, but
You know, I think one of the problems is that the higher-ups think it's important that the women's game have women refs.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm all for developing female refs, but until they're ready to ref at that level, then they've got to earn it, right? And so early on, and interestingly enough, in 1998 we had a Canadian ref and we lost. The Americans won. In 2002 there was an American ref and the Canadians won. So maybe an American ref isn't so bad.
yeah.
But you know, I think that they're putting some of the officials into a situation that they're not prepared for. And I remember thinking after 2002 that she almost looked like she was stunned, like
Yeah.
with what was going on. It was a huge stage at that point, and I think she almost kind of froze a little bit in the game and didn't know what to do. And so as athletes, and people say this about coaches sometimes too, that females want female coaches, and I think it's great, but as an athlete, I want the best coach. And as a referee, I want the best referee. And I don't care if it's a woman or a man, and I think that when you get the best athletes in the world, I think they deserve to have the best official. And if it's not a woman at this point, then develop them more. But, you know, I don't think they should just put someone in the spotlight like that because they think it's a...
women officials at the time?
Well, maybe, I don't know.
Apparently there
You had to,
at the Olympics.
Of the
yeah.
8 that were at the
Well,
Olympics.
8 that were at the Olympics from the other countries.
the American coach afterwards says that actually hurt their team because they couldn't get a flow either of the team and stuff like that. So what Haley called atrocious refereeing or something?
Yeah, probably.
So you had to have noticed that on the ice at the time. You
Well,
say you did, but you
yes,
have to.
but I just have to. Going back into that game, and
I would agree with Vicky. I didn't remember how many were called. Like it was just sort of, we were really
No.
just like, oh, you're
We were
penalty killing
focused,
again. Okay.
yeah.
It's happening too fast.
Yeah. And you're so like, I think the key to us being successful was that we were able to just stay in the moment.
yeah.
Because if you look at the big picture and you think, oh my God, this is our 6th one in a row and it's a gold medal game, and all of a sudden you start panicking, and we were able to just, you know, okay, we got to kill a penalty.
You say it's incompetence and not favoritism in that game. Watching it, we don't know how good the referee is,
Yeah.
but we're sort of wondering.
Yeah, a lot of people would have.
But we don't care because the result came the right way. So,
Yeah.
no
I would
reason
say
to talk about it.
competence
Well,
opposed to favoritism.
yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
Oh, that's what I want to know.
Opinion,
Yeah.
So we're talking about girls hockey, so I'm just going to talk about good hockey players. I went to U of T, and I also played hockey there, and I knew a lot of the girls that played hockey while I was going to school. We had the greatest hockey games Friday night, hopping the fence at Christie Pets with a lot of the guys and girls playing hockey together. And I'll tell you, I'm very fortunate because I worked for a company that were promoting women's sports, and we promote it at a high level. So I was around great athletes. I don't look at them as women, I look at them as great athletes. So the experience of that Friday night, 10 o'clock at night, where they had just the lights on and everybody was at home, and you had guys and girls hopping the fence to play on Christie Pits, was an awesome game. I wish somebody would have taped it because the women had great elbows. I'll tell you that. The other thing I want to just thank Vicky, I don't know if she'll remember this, but after they won the Olympics, because of who I worked for, you guys used to come in and I used to take care of a lot of the players. Her and Cassie and a few of the other players actually got me a game jersey signed by all the players, and I still have that from the Olympics. So that was a really big honor, and I still have it, and it's going to be my prized possession. So I'm from Scarborough, you're from Scarborough. That mirror, I remember.
Yeah. Okay, time for one more, Danny.
The impact that Angela James had, did you play with her? And was she one of the first like big stars or whatever? What was special about her?
Well, I had played against her for some time, and then played with her, and you know there was a lot of controversy because she never made the 1998 Olympic team, and she had been playing on the World Championships teams. But you know it, and I'm not going to go into like her selection or anything like that. But she was ill that year. She had a thyroid problem, and I remember. But going into the training for the 1998 Olympics, and she wasn't lifting as much weight. She had dropped about 20 pounds, and I'm not going either way, whether she should have on the coach's side or her, you know what I mean. But she came back after that, after she got her illness taken care of, and she was leading scorer of our league. She's been a great impact player, and she's done great things. And I think timing wasn't on her side for that, because I really do think that she probably would have been on the Olympic team had she not been sick. But we see Ange from time to time, and she still coaches. She gives back, and I think that getting into the Hockey Hall of Fame is a great thing for her, and it's done great things for women's hockey. But when I played against her, boy, she was good, great shot, quick, and scored a lot of goals. So I remember her as being a great hockey player for sure.
I remember more watching her, and obviously, I think she was probably the first superstar in women's hockey in the early 90s. Unfortunately, I only got to play with her kind of that last year, bit of her career, so I didn't get to play with the best version of AJ, I don't think, but I certainly remember watching her.
I actually met her a number of times at referees' clinics.
She went to
an official.
She went to and you walk in, and there she is. Why are you here?
Yeah.
I don't know if she ever repped anywhere.
She did.
She
Yeah.
did.
She
sure
but
did.
She was at those clinics and taking notes. And,
She repped at a high level. She ended up repping in our league.
She did.
I was impressed with that.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, listen. I think we've had some great insights, but we have to end on a cheery note. The story that I love, and I set Jayna up for this one. By the way, the company that the new Toxic works for is Nike. So this kind of fits with my nice soliloquy for me to move into this, because Vicky gets excused from this one. For 2010 in Vancouver, after the victory, there was little bit of an issue with the celebration with the girls. And I'm not going to point any fingers, but you were certainly front and center in that one with the tracksuits and cigars. And Mark Harkin's a good friend of mine, and his son TJ, Matt McElhenney, was over here a couple of weeks ago and told us the behind the scenes that he was being the administrator of all of this, what was going on behind the scenes. And one of the bottles over there, he talks about that champagne bottle that's filled with beer. That was we're giving all the gold medal winners. So I've said enough. I think maybe you could do it. Why don't you fill us in a little in the story?
Well, I think the first thing we should say is that we got in a lot of trouble for that, obviously. But that wasn't the first time we did it. In 2002, we were all over the Salt Lake Ice with the loonie and cigars and beers, and there just happened to be nobody in the rink that caught it, I guess. Actually, the only one that caught us was Wayne Gretzky called down to someone and said, "Get the girls away from the toonie," because they didn't want, or the loonie, because they didn't want them to take it out before the men's game. So that's the only reason we got called off the ice there. But you know, so in 2010, it was just sort of. I don't know. Is there anyone here that wouldn't have a beer after 4 years of training and winning a gold medal? I don't know. So
Guys do that all the time.
So when we go back to the dressing room, we have this awesome Nike setup. We had these white sweatshirts with gold down the sleeves, and we had these gold high top running shoes. Awesome. A number of Molson Canadian beers, and had someone get us some cigars, which if anyone thinks that the girls actually smoke cigars at any time other than winning Olympic gold medal, it doesn't happen. And so we celebrate, and we'd done it so many times, and so we went out on the ice in Vancouver, and obviously having a great time. The only difference was there was 2 or 3 media folks still in the building, and I literally mean 2 or 3, like, you know. And we were taking pictures and just having fun and whatever, and then
You deserved it.
of course within about an hour these pictures were everywhere. It turns out, you know, the next day they're the cover on the Hawaiian, you know, paper. They're in Europe, they're all over Canada, the US, and you know, the initial thought is, what great promotion for women's hockey. None of these newspapers would ever cover women's hockey, so all of a sudden you've got women's hockey players on the front. Unfortunately, we got some people in trouble. We as a Olympic team are supposed to be wearing HBC clothing, and the real story of what happened after the game was our media guy came in and said, okay, we're taking the whole team to the CTV studios, so everybody, after you're done, we're going to go on a bus, we'll go there, do the interview, and then we'll go see our families. So everybody's like, great. So still partying, whatever. Half an hour later he comes in and he says, well, you know what, they only want these 3 players. And then we're thinking, well, that's not cool, you know, we want to hang out as a team, like you're not going to take the whole team, you're only going to pick a couple people. So then we get dressed in our Nike gear, because we're like, okay, we're going back to see our friends and family, and you can wear gold shoes and, you know, gold shirts, so it's pretty cool. So then we're all in our gold Nike stuff, and on the bus, our media guy then comes and says, well, now they want the whole team again. And we're like, this is ridiculous. So they ended up taking the bus right to the media center. So we're all dressed in our Nike gear. So we went on live television, 20 girls in Nike gear, and gotten...
Great promotions, those things.
Well, and like I said to Pat, with Molson, I mean, the best free marketing I think you could ever get. And to 2 companies, with Nike, I was personally sponsored by Nike for a number of years, and Molson has been one of our greatest supporters back from early 2000s. You know, I couldn't be happier to be promoting them, but unfortunately some people got in trouble for it, and there was some large fines to Hockey Canada as a result of our actions. But I think
It was worth it.
It was worth it.
I think for those that know Bob Nicholson and, you know, Hawk at the back, he'd take any of that for a gold medal. So as long as we had the gold medal, I don't think it really mattered.
Well, and to finish the story, just for everybody, for Pat McElhenney, who was representing Molson's at the time, he was called in by the highest ranking officials when this happened with the girls. And of course, I was just picturing, as he's telling us the story, he's there sitting nervously sweating while this is going on, and these girls with cigars and blowing, and he's getting screamed at. So he goes into this meeting, and they said, you know, how'd you get those bottles into the rink? They snuck them in out of the bags and the equipment. And he said, well, this can't go on. And now there's all this hoopla going on about it. And now the thinking comes out, I guess, from the other side, is, well, there's still the men's game to go. Is this going to happen again? And Pat said he had to think for a minute and looked, and he said, yep. We're getting them back in the building again. And of course they did. And they just went, the girl just went, okay, forgot I didn't hear that.
And it happened in Russia again. So
That is fantastic. Well, anyway, girls, they actually have brought a couple things to show us. So guys, have a look at this now. This is what these guys have been playing for all their lives, and this is their a piece of their soul.
yeah, don't worry about the bag.
So, do you have?
Did you bring yours?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so we have a few duplicates. So we'll pass around the silver first. But, so this is the '98
Give that to
silver
the
medal. We can pass it
Any
around the room.
Americans? Give that to them.
That's the case that it came in. Still
Seen better days, but
seen better days. Yeah.
and then we have the Salt Lake gold medal. Vicky has as
Okay,
well, I think.
Is yours okay? Because you don't want to mess up. You don't want to get these mixed up.
Don't mix them.
Well, why don't you just pass yours
Okay,
around?
this way.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's Torino actually.
And this is all Salt Lake can go this way.
Do you want, I'll put mine.
Maybe don't
Salt
take
Lake.
yours.
No? Okay.
Well, it's one of each.